Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello students at home, it's your biology teacher reaching you again for the lesson of biology this week. I remain my humble self, Adeshola Miftahuddin Bamidele. This week, we shall be treating supporting tissues in animals under the subtopic, the limbs. When we are talking about the limbs, we are talking about the forelimbs and the hind limbs. If you recall very well, last week we talked about the appendicular skeleton under the girdles, the shoulder girdle and the pectoral girdle. Inshallah, this week we shall be talking about the limbs as earlier mentioned. The limbs are of two types. We have the forelimbs and we have the hind limbs. First and foremost, let us treat the forelimbs. The forelimbs, we are referring to the two limbs that make the what? The hand, that is the bones of the hand, and we have two hands. The diagram is here for you to see where the limb starts and where it stops. It starts from the humerus down to the ulna and radius. From there, we have the carpus and we have the metacarpus, which are the phalanges. Talking about the bones of the arm, wrist, and hand, we have 64 bones altogether. This 64 is for the two hands. That is for our upper extremity. 32 bones make each limb. They consist of 10 shoulder and arm, 16 bones from the wrist, and 38 from the hand bones, which for each limb, each forelimb, we have 5 bones for shoulder, 8 for the wrist, and 19 for the hand bones. The 5 shoulder bones are the clavicle, the scapula, the humerus, the radius, and ulna, all for each arm. All for each arm. And talking about the hind limbs, that is from the femur. That is from the femur to the metatarsus. This diagram is to elucidate what we are talking about. You can see the femur. After the femur, and that femur we are talking about is considered the longest, strongest bone in the body. We have the patella. That is, if you touch your knee, you have a ball-like structure there, always rolling. That is your knee cap. After the knee cap, you have the tibia, the bigger one, and the fibula, the one that is outside. It means the bone that is outside, though a bit superimposed by the flesh, is the tibia. The one at the other side is the fibula, while the one on the other side is what? Is the fibula. We are saying in essence that by the time you stand upright, the two bones you touch in between your knees, either to the right or to the left, those two bones from each leg are your tibia. Generally speaking, The limbs of most vertebrates are built on the same basic plan, that is pentadactyl limb, meaning plan of 5-digit plan, pentadactyl limb plan, that is 5-digit plan. Now, the 5-digit comprises, you have humerus in the case of forelimb, and you have femur in the case of hind limb. After that one, you have 2 long bones that lie side by side. We have ulna and radius in the case of your forelimb, that is our hand, and we have tibia and fibula in the case of our hind limb, that is our leg. Equally, we have a pair of 9 bones that arrange in 3 rows. We have tarsals in the hind limb, and we have carpals in the forelimbs. After that, we have the 5-digit bones. These are the metatarsals in the case of the hind limb, and metacarpals in the case of the forelimb. Each digit of small bones are called phalanges. I mean those you have in your what? The bones you have in your fingers and the thumb, and the one you have in your toes and the thumb as well. The diagram is equally here to elucidate what we are talking about. You can see for your palm, you can see the what? The 19 bones we are talking about. If you look at those in what? In pink color, and the one in butter color, those, if you count together, those one will make 19 bones of the hand. And after that one, you now have the 8 bones of the what? Of the wrist. You can see the number is 8, and you can see the name. There we have trapezium, we have trapezoid, we have capitale, we have armate, we have pisiform, we have tricutrium, we have lunate, and we have scaphoid, which is number 8. Something of interesting is number 1 and 2. Something of interest is number 1 and 2. We have trapezium and we have trapezoid. On a lighter note, we may be saying we are talking about mathematics in biology, or mathematical biology, The forelimb of mammal, as explained earlier, is made up of upper arm bone, that is the humerus. The head of the humerus is rounded, and it fits into glenoid cavity of the scapula of the pectoral girdle of the shoulder joint. After that, we have the lower, talking about the upper end, we equally have the lower end of the humerus. It ends in a groove, in a grooved pulley-like surface called trochlea. The radius and ulna follow the humerus. We need to understand that the ulna is longer than the radius, and ulna is slightly curved. This is shown clearly in the diagram below. You can see it very well. We can see the ulna and we can see the radius. We can see at the tip end of the ulna, there you have the what? Olecranon processes and other features that are present there. The ulna as a bone has a cavity called sigmoid cavity into which trochlea of the humerus fits, and it has a backward projection called olecranon process as shown in the diagram. Having talked about forelimb, let us discuss the hind limb. The hind limb of mammal is made up of the thigh bone called the femur. The femur, as earlier mentioned, is the longest, strongest, and the largest bone in the body. It is rounded at the proximal end to form a head into which fits into the acetabulum of the pelvic girdle. That is the rounded edge of femur, in this case, fits into the acetabulum. The acetabulum is a part in the pelvic girdle. So the proximal end of the femur fits into the acetabulum of the pelvic girdle to form hip joint. Talking about towards the end of the femur, we have three projections. Towards the end of the femur, we have three projections called tronchators. Again, we have three projections called tronchators. These tronchators, they are important for attachment of muscles. At the distal end of the femur, remember we have talked about the proximal end having a kind of round shape which fits into the acetabulum of the pelvic girdle. Now at the distal end, there are two rounded knobs called condyles. Again, we have at the distal ends two rounded knobs referred to as what? Condyles. This one, they articulate with tibia bone. We have tibia and fibula after the femur. The tibia is longer and larger than the fibula. Just like in the case of forelimb, where we have the ulna longer than the radius. The knee joint is found at the junction of the femur and tibia. That is our knee joint. We have it at what? At the junction of the femur and tibia. However, in front of this, the junction of the femur and tibia is the knee cap. As earlier shown in the diagram, we have what we call the knee cap or the patella. That is the ball-like structure that always keeps rolling on your leg. That is at that junction. If you stand upright and you touch it, you see it rolling around. But while you are on sitting position, it's as if it is not there. Having talked about this one, we talk about the ankle, which is made up of 6 bones called tarsals. And under the tarsals, we have the phalanges, that is metatarsals. We have 4-digit tarsals in rabbit, while most mammals, including man, has 5 tarsals. This explanation has brought us to the end of this lesson. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has made us to pass this message across successfully. I want to believe that, I want to be optimistic with that from my own end. But in case there are gray areas, probably you want me to what? Shed light on. You can communicate me through the feature provided on the e-learning portal. But I will not leave you without optimism, without testing you on what has been taught so far. Consequent upon this, you shall find the assignment attached to this particular lesson, which sooner than later will be uploaded in the portal. Ensure you attempt it very well, and make sure while we are trying to do this in order to save time, as we are compelled to remain at home now due to the pandemic in the land, that is COVID-19. Please ensure you give attention to this lesson. I've also brought again the entire picture of the hind limb. You can see the rounded end that fits into the what? Into the pelvic girdle to form the hip joint. That is the rounded end that fits into the acetabulum, and you can see the what? Clearly the knee cap, and also there is the what? The ulna, the tibia and the fibula, followed by the bones of the ankle. You can see them by the time you zoom the diagram, and you can see the what? The metatarsals as well. So I want to urge you to stay home and stay safe, and follow strictly all the medical advisories as regards prevention of the spread of COVID-19. There is no doubt about it. We are now at community transmission level. We urge each and every one of you at home to stay safe. That is our appeal to you. We believe our last mercy, we shall have cause to rejoice over the end of this world, seeing the end to this particular pandemic. Mashallah, we look forward to meet not virtual again but physically when this COVID-19 of a pandemic is over. Once again, I am Adeshola Miftaudeen Bamidele, your online biology teacher. Thank you and goodbye.